an example of how magic and hexing can work that we can present, and this is a pretty obvious one, especially if you are old enough to remember, and most of you are. Do you remember Coney 2012? It was the first viral sensation that ever occurred on the internet. Millions of people overnight ended up watching a video about Joseph Kony. Joseph Kony is a rebel leader, a little authoritarian nightmare in Africa. And a man named Jason Russell had made a film where he talked about how we need to collectively get rid of Kony. And 2012 is the year that we're finally going to stop Joseph Kony's reign of terror, his theft of children, turning them into child soldiers, etc. Overnight, this video became a massive sensation. Everybody suddenly knew about Joseph Kony. And, of course, nothing actually happened to Joseph Kony, but something did happen to Jason Russell. Perhaps you're aware of this. I think it was in March of the next year.
It was not long after it came out.
Not long at all. Footage came out of Jason Russell naked, masturbating on a corner of a street in California. He is constantly bending over, slapping the ground, slapping his testicles, slapping his ass.
He's losing it.
He's losing his mind. Now, this happened out of nowhere, and the general explanation for what happened was, he couldn't deal with the stress. He was, after all, the very first viral sensation on the internet. Suddenly, not only did millions of people know about Joseph Kony, but millions of people knew about Jason Russell. There's another likelihood, though, because, of course, Joseph Kony is he's surrounded by people who believe that he is a god.
That's the thing. He wasn't just a leader. He was one of these semi-deified. He was headed what's called the Lord's Resistance Army. He claimed, does it sound familiar, to have been put there by God himself, right, to be doing what he was doing. Because the thing is, Russell wasn't the first person to go after Kony. He was just the first person to be able to create a viral sensation of it. Right. Kony the U.S. government went after Kony. Everyone went after Kony for years and years and years, and he was able to evade it every time for years and years and years, and was to be able, for his followers, the fact that he was able to evade it every time, of course, was proof that God was on his side, and the amount of people going after him was just further proof of the idea that he was being persecuted because he was this, because he was that.
Precisely. And of course, he's claimed that he has magical powers on his side and people who are working magic for him. So, all of a sudden, Jason Russell, the man who completely came up with something that could possibly finally threaten Kony, goes crazy. Goes absolutely apeshit and looks like he is suddenly possessed. Something has happened to him. Now, was that Kony who did it? Was it really just the secular Western idea of a mental breakdown and that was all? We don't know. However, it seems pretty likely that there was probably some magic involved. And in fact, that is exactly how a hex would work, or a hex should work, where you cannot prove who it was who actually started it. You cannot prove any correlation whatsoever. But that person might kind of know, wait, something just happened to me.
And that guy disappeared pretty quickly after that.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from him since.
No, not at all. So, when we're looking at magic, when we're looking at egregores, when we're looking at what to do about these political leaders, we can take that as a much better example of how this can happen. And we can also use these egregoric ideas to understand how to dismantle or destroy things like America.
Empires Crumble.
A podcast on politics, culture, history, and magic.
With Ali Valkyrie
and Reed Wildermuth.